Alright, so it's been a while since I last made a video, so I decided to finally get back on the wagon and do it again. Today we are joined by my dog Cookie, who is being tormented by a squirrel or bird of some sort and will not stop barking, so she's in here with me to stop bugging the other dogs, huh? Now today we have the Perry Miniatures War of the Roses Infantry. I'm slowly building up a new Bretonnian army, so I'm slowly getting in more and more humanish miniatures. And I figured I would start with Perry and then move into Fireforge games here after this. Now, so what we've seen so far is that Perry Miniatures and Fireforge actually go together quite well. They keep the same scale of soldiers. Well, probably within each other. There's a few design features they change around the weapons and armor. But besides that, they're the same scale, so it really matters in the long run. Now, with the Perry box, you get 1, 2, 3 sprues plus 2 command sprues for a total of 40 figures. How you want to split that up is up to you. You can make armored bowmen. We see. Oh, turn the light on. You can make armored bowmen if you wish to do so, out of the command sprue itself, which is an interesting concept, I guess. But what I found most interesting about those armored models here, buy these sprues by themselves. And a lot comes on these little sprues here. You only get 2 bodies, so you are kind of cut off in that regard. But it's very interesting because this is the first time I've actually noticed them having one-armed poleaxes, halberds. You get different kinds of swords, a pointing finger. See the white background there? You got a little pointing finger on them. Probably change the focus so y'all can see this. And it's just a very interesting sprue. I also love the fact they have a horn with the banner on there. You get these ground spokes full of arrows. They stick in the ground for an archer line, I would assume. And all the heads. You only get 2 bodies. You only get 2 bodies. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 heads to select from. That's a lot of variety for a single sprue. So I suppose you could make some of these archers perhaps light infantry, because each archer sprue comes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 melee selections. You got bill hooks here and here, and you have looks to be another bill hook, and then some kind of poleaxe of some sort. Not sure what the actual name of that is called. And then a regular old bill hooky spear. Just a very subtle hook on it. And you have your archer arms. So it's a very multi selection sprue, both melee and range selections. So I'm not really sure what to pin this on. You could use it, buy 2 boxes of this and have over 80 figures as you could pick and choose from for melee or ranged. But we're going to do the little booklet here first. I always send you one of these little booklets here. The armies, the flags, the armor, some examples of what you can make out of these miniatures. I would only assume the more heavily armored heads could be used to show the effect of heavy armor on these bodies. It's really up to you in that regard. They got some liveries you can look at and choose from. They got front and back, which is kind of nice. So there's no guesswork to be done there. Some more examples. Some hints and tips for them. It's pretty nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to or not, but I would like to take some nice clear twine or very thin twine and make bow strings. That'd be kind of cool, I think, if I had to do it, but it would add a lot more depth to the model. And then there's some standards here. I'm sure you could cut these standards out of this paper here because it is white backed, and glue them together and have a standard bearer. I'm sure there won't be any problem at all if you want to do that. I'm not one for using paper standards, but if you want to do that, you're more than welcome to. And they got quite a selection here: Lancastrian, Yorkist, that kind of stuff. So we've seen the command sprues, which will come in handy later on for me because I got to build more heavy infantry because I like heavy infantry. And then there's the actual archer sprues, which you get 3 of, and then the usual standard Perry bases you get with them. The nice, lovely forest green that reminds me of the old Games Workshop ones from back in the early 2000s, if not the 90s. And the sprue itself is stamped 2008 for the bases. And always pay attention to that. No matter who you buy it from, check the sprue date. That shows just how long the sprue's been around without any updates, without any care taken to it. Such as one time I was buying Games Workshop Zombies, and the sprue was still marked 98. I mean, that's an old model they're still charging premium prices for, so I felt pretty gypped from that. Let's take a quick look here and see. This sprue is from 2009. And the command sprue is also from 2009. So these models are almost 10 years old in that regard. And I want to start checking these sprue dates here soon to see just how old these designs are. What's funny is that these designs, they still hold up. You know, even though this sprue is almost 10 years old, it still looks good. And that's good to see. It's very consistent in that regard. Now the bodies, you get a pretty... This is why I'm thinking you could use these both as bowmen and as infantry, because some of them have pretty hardcore armor on there. Like this guy's got kind of a plate thing looking like it, or maybe a studded leather. Pretty interesting looking. And one's got a padded jacket, and these three just have standard, you know, bowman attire. And then we have on the other side, we have two that look like metal armor, and then 1, 2, 3 with just like padded jackets and clothes. And this actually looks like it's got a plate underneath the jacket there. It's got like a simple plate, chest plate under there. So maybe a chest plate guy is wearing a jacket over it, which is pretty interesting as well. In addition to that, a lot of the arms have chainmail on them or a padded jacket, like this one right here for one of the bill hooks has a padded jacket for the arms. The bowmen have chainmail on their arms. Some of the bill hooks have chainmail, so it seems like it would be pretty interchangeable depending on what you needed. In addition to that, not almost, all the heads have metal helmets. All the heads. Metal skull cap. Metal. Metal. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. So all of the heads have metal helmets. So it is actually very safe to assume that you could make a lot of basic infantry out of this sprue if you want a big block unit using bill hooks. And that gives you a little bit more leeway with this box. This box still only costs like 20-25 euros, and that's 40 models for only 25 euros. It's a pretty good damn deal if you ask me. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with these. Plus, always the extra bits. If you need hands that are like just open to put things in, this thing is full of those darn hands. I'm assuming they're for the bowmen, for, you know, doing like they're knocking an arrow or whatever, or releasing the arrow. But it gives you open hands, and I love having open hands because there's always a time where you're going to need or want an open hand. So you want a guy holding some reins or putting down a box. You know, it saves you a lot of work having to convert, you know, a hand to either peel it open, open it out, or making your own hand out of green stuff. The bows are pretty plain. All these bows are just simple bows. There's no real artistry taken to them. There's a nice simple bow. Gives you a little bit of leeway for cutting notches into it, because say you do want to string them for a nicer effect, you can do that. You only have one hand knocking an arrow back, like holding it. The one right there, that's the only one that's actually holding an arrow. You have a hand holding a bundle of arrows. You actually have two of those, two bundle holding arrows. And the rest look like either pulling back on the string or releasing the string from the cheek. So I think that's going to be it in regards to the hands here. And of course, this sprue does repeat. So in effect, you actually have quite the variety you can make from this. Even though it shows all bows on the front. Yeah, okay, yeah. So the guy with that jacket and the breastplate is this guy, I suppose. So he is wearing heavy armor still. Actually, quite interesting. The box kind of gave me a hint there. All right. So yeah, that's the box, and it's always surprising how simply made Perry sprues are, but how many bits they give you. I thought Fireforge gave a lot of bits, but Perry always just tickles me by all the stuff they give you. I don't like how some of the bows have connectors on them from the sprue. That can leave a little bit of a mess mark where you got to scrape off and smooth up. But everything else looks the same. Now, I believe I cut out someone from here to do a test on. Let's see if I can find him. Anyway, I cut out, yeah, I cut out one of Perry. Yeah, he's right here. So I cut out one of Perry's ones. As you can see, I made the feet flush. Now, a lot of folks don't care whether the feet are flush or not. Some folks just want to cut it out, stick it down, and that's where these little discs come into play there. It's a very little effort. You just cut them out, stick them down, you're good to go. But me, I'm picky. I don't want a mound there while I'm doing the base. So I want nice clear feet. I took a while. I was just cutting them off like that. I used a flat edge, go in there and just whack. And I cut them off the base there. But I always had problems with maybe I would not pay too close attention. I would cut off a little too much foot, you know, or it would kind of curve the foot or do something wacky with it. So I've started using something else as a tool to do that. And it's these little thin saws like this, and a lot of folks who I game with ask me how I'm able to get that little mound off my models, and the way I do it seems a lot harder than it should have. While I was talking to him, explaining to him, like, you know, this seems like it'd be really hard to do. So let me go ahead and cut out one of these, another one of these, and I want to show you what I'm talking about. So you have a little doodad here. I'm going to zoom in for a second. I love how this new control arm will let me just kind of zip in real quick. So you have your model here, right? You want to get this big ass plate bottom that foot. You can take nips here and go in there with a flat edge up and kind of work around the bottom edge of that foot, but it's on a round plate. You're gonna have an angle error there. And I ran into that a lot while I was doing this, because no matter how well you get it under there, you're gonna have, you know, it's gonna be hard to do. You gotta get in there nice and, you know, really easy. You gotta take your time and snip. I want to, like, it never left an actual smooth edge to it. It's still gonna be a little bit jagged. So I figured, you know, I'll just get a little bitty micro saw of some sort, and it's a lot tougher than I thought it'd be, to be honest. But if you have a little saw thing like this, you can kind of get in there. You can kind of clap it against like this, because you got the bottom of the foot there, and it's really hard to show you. Bottom of the foot makes a little like edge catch for you. You just take it and you just kind of slowly saw away at it like that, and it gets the job done pretty darn quick. Since it's plastic, steel, it cuts pretty easily. It's nothing too bad going about it. But just take your time and saw. Double check your cut line there. Check the gap. And then it pops through. You're going to get a little bit of like a flash thing here. Don't worry about that. It comes off pretty easily. Going to do the other foot now. And the other foot's a little bit closer, but even though you still get a little bit of lip off that toe there, it's going to hold your blade in place while you're rocking it. You just start slow. Work your groove in there. And even going slow, you're still going to get it working like that. Just saw it back and forth. Don't be like, you're going to cut through or cut wrong or cut an angle. Just take your time. The blade's going to do all the work for you. It's just plastic. You're not trying to cut through pewter or white steel. Just let it do its job for you. See, it's like this. It's a light touch. That's all you need. And your model's free. Then you take your X-Acto knife. I use a round edge. I'm weird. I'm sorry. Brushy. Just like that, a little bit of work, you have models that can stand still on their own. The reason why I prefer using this saw blade thing is that using these clippers, I couldn't get that flat edge flush. It would pinch or it would round off or something. With the saw blade, if the cut is so flat, they can stand up on their own. And you just like this, boop, it's that quick, you know. And it looks better. It's going to look better on your actual your base, because it's flat. There's no unsightly slight mound that's going to look like they're all standing on Liberty molehills. It's going to look more natural on your base like this than it would if say they were on the rounds, because the rounds they're all gonna look just. I've done it before. It just looks a little weird when I'm on the rounds. And I think the saw is going to help me out a lot more with the caliber as well, because those tiny little hooves on those sprues, they're still awkward to cut. And a nice smooth flat edge is going to work a lot better for me and you guys when you use them. And so there we have another pile of plastic to add on to the board. As always, Perry does an excellent job with their models. I never found or had to deal with a Perry miniature that wasn't just fun to handle with or fun to model or even fun to build. They still have the upper hand on Fireforge due to the fact their head sockets for their infantry and their horses, and sometimes even their arms, that round socket always glues on better. It glues on more flush and it looks more natural when it glues. As per my advice at all times, be sure you use a nice thick super glue. If you have a local hobby town, go to them, give this MaxSecure extra thick glue. It holds like a plastic cement, but it glues as fast as a super glue. Next time we'll be reviewing the Deus Volt Foot Sergeants from Fireforge games, and we're going to see how they stack up compared to the reigning champion of historical miniatures. Hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time.